There is a mighty current that flows through the universe, unseen yet irresistible, carrying each soul upon its waves. For so long, one may feel as though that current has run contrary, pulling against every effort, delaying every desire, scattering the seeds of hope upon barren ground. But the law of life is exact, and the law of mind is unfailing. When the word is spoken with faith, the tide must turn. When the inner picture is held with unwavering certainty, the outer world must obey. The divine pattern is always for expansion, increased joy and effortless supply. Now I stand at that radiant moment when destiny itself swings about. The tide has shifted. No longer does resistance meet me, no longer does delay entangle me. The invisible current that once opposed now bears me forward with ease, carrying me directly to the shores of fulfillment. I feel it as a lifting wind at my back, as the unseen hand opening doors, as the gentle alignment of circumstances that unfold like petals of a flower. Everything comes my way not by force, but by the irresistible magnetism of divine order. Every spoken word of faith is a seed cast upon the waters, and now the harvest rises before me in abundance. Where I once perceived obstacles, I now see stepping stones. Where I once felt lack, I now perceive only overflowing supply. The tide has turned, and the river of life carries me upon its gleaming surface, toward all that belongs to me by right of consciousness. Every good desire of the heart has already been prepared. Every channel of blessing has already been cleared. I need not struggle. For what is mine by divine decree must seek me, must find me, must arrive at the perfect hour. The unseen intelligence that governs the stars and spins the galaxies now arranges every detail of my affairs. People, places, opportunities, all flow to me as easily as the stream flows to the sea. That which seemed lost is restored, that which seemed delayed is hastened. That which seemed denied is now given freely. I walk in the calm assurance that the turning tide is irrevocable. For once the soul aligns with divine intention, no earthly hindrance can prevail. The tide destiny has turned, and I feel it in the quickening of my spirit. I feel it in the harmony of the day, in the gentle correspondences that reveal themselves, in the perfect timing that unfolds again and again. The universe rushes to meet me with treasures in its hands. The gates of supply swing wide, and love, joy, health, wealth, and perfect expression come pouring forth. I do not pursue, I attract. I do not chase, I magnetize. For the law is always working, and the law is always faithful. The tide of destiny has shifted from resistance to flow. For long seasons, it may have seemed as though the waves of life pushed backward, as though every effort was met with delay, every dream with denial, every step forward with 2 steps retraced. Yet such appearances are only shadows cast by false belief, illusions born of doubt and fear. The truth is that life is governed by divine law, and divine law never falters, never delays, never withholds. The resistance once felt was never the reality, but only the reflection of thought out of alignment with the higher pattern. The moment thought aligns, the moment faith is spoken with authority, the tide must respond, and the current that once seemed against us turns with power to carry us forward. This turning is not gradual, though the outer eye may perceive it slowly. It is immediate in the realm of spirit, for spirit knows no time and no delay. The change comes the instant the heart claims its inheritance with unwavering conviction. Suddenly, what once seemed impossible begins to move into place. Doors once closed begin to swing open. Opportunities once hidden reveal themselves. People, circumstances, and events that were beyond reach appear on the path as though summoned by invisible command. This is the evidence of the tide turning, of destiny no longer opposing but supporting, no longer hindering but advancing. When the tide shifts, struggle ceases. The sense of pushing against an unyielding current is replaced with the effortless sensation of being borne along by unseen strength. Life itself feels lighter, more harmonious, more responsive. The same actions that once required great effort now unfold with ease. The same plans that once met with obstacle after obstacle now progress smoothly, as though each piece falls into place by divine choreography. This is the unmistakable mark of flow. the sacred alignment where inner conviction and outer manifestation move as one. The soul that has long labored in resistance knows well the contrast. It has known the heaviness of striving without result, the discouragement of repeated setbacks, the exhaustion of unfulfilled desire. Yet once the tide has turned, that memory only serves to magnify the wonder of the new ease. For when destiny flows in harmony, every step feels guided, every act inspired, every moment filled with subtle signs of encouragement. Synchronicities abound, small, perfect correspondences that whisper of divine orchestration. A chance meeting, a timely message, a sudden insight, all reveal that the current is carrying the soul exactly where it is meant to go. The shift from resistance to flow is the shift from doubt to faith, from fear to trust, from self-effort to divine cooperation. Resistance is born of believing oneself separate from the source, believing that supply must be wrestled from a reluctant universe. Flow is born of knowing that one is inseparable from the source, that every good thing already exists in the invisible, awaiting only recognition to manifest. When the mind ceases to insist on its own limited will and surrenders to divine guidance, the tide responds instantly, and the whole current of life begins to serve rather than oppose. This flow is not a passive drifting but an active harmony. It is not the abdication of will but the alignment of will with higher law. In resistance, the soul labors against what is. In flow, the soul moves with what is destined, amplifying its power by cooperation with divine intention. The river does not demand effort to carry the boat downstream, it requires only that the boat not be anchored against the current. In the same way, flow requires only the release of fear, the surrender of doubt, the letting go of resistance in thought, word, and feeling. Once the inner anchor is lifted, the outer tide moves with unmistakable swiftness. There is a deep peace in this awareness, a calm assurance that all is working together for good, even when appearances still shift and rearrange themselves. For the one who knows the tide has turned no longer looks at the surface ripples for confirmation. The assurance is inward, a steady knowing that what once opposed now carries, what once hindered now assists, what once delayed now accelerates. This inner certainty is itself the magnet that draws outward evidence, for the universe always mirrors the state of consciousness held within. As the flow continues, the soul grows accustomed to ease. It begins to expect harmony, to look for divine order, to anticipate the timely unfolding of every desire. This expectation is not idle hope but confident faith, grounded in the law that has already proven itself. The tide, once turned, does not revert, for the law is constant. Only thought can re-establish resistance, and thought, once trained in the way of faith, no longer falls into the old patterns of fear. Each day becomes a new affirmation of flow, each circumstance another opportunity to witness the law in action. The turning of destiny's tide is the shift into a new vibration of life, where good comes swiftly, where paths open widely, where every effort is multiplied by invisible strength. It is a remembrance of truth, that resistance was never real power, only the echo of misaligned belief. The flow has always existed, waiting only for recognition, waiting for the moment the soul chooses to align, to believe, to declare. Now that choice has been made, and the shift is complete. The tide of destiny has turned, and the great current of life bears the soul ever forward into wider seas, carrying every rightful good with it, sweeping aside every remnant of the old resistance, moving in power, in harmony, in effortless unfolding. Divine law aligns circumstances in perfect order. There is no confusion in the universe, no accident, no misplaced detail, no missed opportunity. What may appear as delay or chaos to the human mind is only the outer shell of an inner order yet to be revealed. The laws that govern life are immutable, and these laws always work toward harmony, balance, fulfillment, and right expression. Every circumstance that arises is drawn by thought, shaped by belief, and directed by the unseen hand of higher intelligence. When thought aligns with truth, circumstances must obey. When word is spoken in faith, events must rearrange themselves in answer. Divine law does not falter, nor does it forget, for it is eternal and precise. and it governs all things from the smallest detail to the grandest unfolding. The appearance of disorder is the illusion created by fear and doubt. When the soul is clouded by worry, it misreads the signs, interpreting delays as denials and interruptions as defeats. Yet when viewed through the clear vision of faith, every seeming obstacle is revealed as part of a larger design. Every pause as preparation, every detour as redirection toward a greater outcome. Nothing is wasted, nothing is random, for the law is exact, and it arranges every step with infinite wisdom. One may not yet see the final picture, but the pieces are falling into place with precision beyond human comprehension. The alignment of circumstances is not achieved by force but by consciousness. The outer world is but the mirror of the inner state, and as thought comes into harmony with truth, the mirror shifts to reflect it. The mind that expects disorder finds it. The mind that affirms divine order perceives it everywhere. Thus, to align with the law is to declare with conviction that all is well, that every detail is working out for good, that nothing can oppose the power of truth. This declaration, spoken in faith, sets the unseen forces into motion, and circumstances begin to move into perfect sequence, like the turning of gears in a divine machine. There is no need for anxiety when one knows that divine law is at work. The farmer does not doubt that the seed will sprout, for he trusts the law of growth. In the same way, the soul that plants thoughts of faith can rest in the certainty that results will appear in their season. Circumstances align as surely as day follows night, as surely as the tide follows the moon. The timing is exact, the order precise, for the law cannot be broken, cannot be hurried, cannot be delayed. What is meant to come will come at the appointed moment, not a second too soon, not a second too late. The alignment is often felt as a series of synchronicities, small and subtle at first, then undeniable as they accumulate. A chance conversation reveals an answer long sought. A delay in one area opens the way for a greater opportunity elsewhere. A seeming loss becomes the very condition that leads to unexpected gain. Each event, no matter how small, carries within it the seed of divine intention, and when viewed in retrospect, the pattern becomes clear. What once appeared as chaos is revealed as a flawless sequence, every step necessary, every moment purposeful. The human mind often resists this order, seeking to control outcomes, to dictate timing, to arrange circumstances by its own limited vision. Yet true alignment requires surrender, the willingness to release control and trust the higher plan. This surrender is not weakness but strength, for it recognizes that divine wisdom sees farther, knows deeper, and arranges more perfectly than human effort ever could. When one ceases to interfere, and instead speaks the word of truth with unwavering conviction, the law takes over, and the entire fabric of circumstances weaves itself into harmony. The alignment of divine law is also seen in the way desires themselves are fulfilled. No true desire is planted in the heart without its corresponding fulfillment already prepared. The desire is the seed, and the law supplies the soil, the sunlight, the rain, and the growth. Circumstances then align to bring the fulfillment into visible form. The people who are needed appear. The opportunities present themselves, the resources are drawn into place, often from unexpected channels. It may seem miraculous, but it is not miracle in the sense of breaking law. It is miracle as the natural expression of law in action. Even the seeming delays are ordered, for divine law includes perfect timing. The fruit cannot be plucked before it ripens, the flower cannot bloom before its season. In the same way, desires cannot manifest until all conditions are rightly prepared. What feels like waiting is often the unseen alignment of countless details, the invisible choreography of life arranging itself for the best possible outcome. Trust in this timing transforms impatience into peace, for the soul knows that every day, every moment, is part of the unfolding. When one looks at the great movements of life through this lens, the evidence of order becomes undeniable. The turning points of destiny, the sudden breakthroughs, the unexpected blessings, all reveal a pattern too precise to be chance. The meeting with the right person at the right hour, the opening of the right door at the right time, the provision arriving just when needed. All testify to the law at work, aligning circumstances with exactness beyond human design. To live in harmony with divine law is to rest in assurance, to move with confidence, to speak with authority, and to act with calm expectancy. It is to know that no detail is neglected, that every circumstance is moving toward greater good, that every event, no matter how small, contributes to the whole. The law is not swayed by fear or doubt, it responds only to faith and recognition. The more one affirms the presence of divine order, the more it reveals itself in the fabric of daily life. The soul that trusts this alignment no longer feels tossed about by chance. It moves with poise, with serenity, knowing that the same intelligence that governs the stars also governs the smallest affairs. Each morning becomes a fresh opportunity to witness the law at work, each night a chance to reflect on the perfect sequence of the day. The awareness deepens that life is not random, that nothing is wasted, that everything is purposeful, and that the divine plan, though invisible, is flawless in its unfolding. What belongs to me by right of consciousness must come. The invisible world is rich with substance, filled with every form of supply, every opportunity, every joy, every answer to the heart's desire. Nothing is withheld except by the boundaries of thought. Consciousness is the key, and what the mind can accept, affirm, and know as true is what the outer world must reflect. No force outside can deprive the soul of its rightful inheritance, for the law is exact, and the law is certain. Every good thing prepared in the realm of spirit is magnetized by thought and must appear when claimed with conviction. The right of consciousness is not earned by struggle, nor won by chance, but established by the inner state of belief. If the soul holds fast to lack, the world will mirror lack. If the soul affirms abundance, abundance must flow. This is not favoritism, nor fortune, but divine precision. Life reflects the consciousness it is given, nothing more, nothing less. Therefore, the moment the mind recognizes its unity with the source of all supply, the channels of manifestation open, and that which belongs by right cannot be kept away. There is a sacred assurance in knowing that the universe cannot lose or misplace what has been claimed by truth. No other hand can take it. No circumstance can block it. No delay can prevent it. What belongs by right of consciousness must move forward through every obstacle, must bypass every barrier, must find its way to the one who has called it forth. It may come through channels expected, or through pathways never imagined. But come it must, for the law allows no exception. Every desire that rises within the heart carries with it the possibility of fulfillment, and that possibility becomes certainty when claimed with unwavering faith. The desire itself is proof that the thing desired already exists in the unseen. One does not hunger without food existing, one does not thirst without water being present, and one does not long for expression without the means of fulfillment already prepared. The consciousness that recognizes this truth moves from wishing to knowing, and knowing is the key that unlocks manifestation. This right of consciousness is not limited by conditions of birth, wealth, status, or circumstance. It belongs equally to all. For it is established not by outer privilege but by inner alignment. The one who believes in lack, though surrounded by riches, will remain poor. The one who believes in abundance, though surrounded by seeming lack, will draw supply from the most unlikely sources. The world shifts itself to mirror belief, and what is held firmly in consciousness must appear. The process is like a seed planted in fertile soil. The seed contains within it the full pattern of the tree, and the soil provides the conditions for growth. In the same way, consciousness provides the soil in which the seed of desire germinates. If the soil is barren with fear, doubt, or disbelief, the seed withers. If the soil is rich with faith, gratitude, and expectancy, the seed grows strong and produces fruit. What belongs to the seed by right of its pattern must manifest, and what belongs to the soul by right of its consciousness must appear in life. There is no need for striving or desperate grasping, for that which is rightfully claimed cannot be withheld. Struggle only reinforces the belief in separation, in distance, in lack. Calm recognition affirms unity, immediacy, abundance. The soul that calmly declares, "This belongs to me by divine right, and it comes to me with ease," sets the law in motion with greater power than all anxious effort could achieve. The declaration plants the seed, and the faith sustains it until the harvest is visible in perfect form. Even when appearances suggest the opposite, the law is still working. The visible world may not yet have caught up with the invisible decree, but the outcome is inevitable. The word spoken in faith cannot return void. It must accomplish that which it declares. Just as the acorn cannot fail to become the oak, the consciousness of good cannot fail to produce good. It may take time for the conditions to align, but alignment is certain, for the law is unchangeable. This right of consciousness extends to every area of life: health, wealth, love, expression, joy. To know oneself as whole is to call forth health. To know oneself as supplied is to call forth abundance. To know oneself as loved is to draw love. To know oneself as free is to dissolve limitation. What belongs by right is not begged for, not chased, not pleaded, but calmly affirmed and gratefully expected. Gratitude itself is the recognition of fulfillment already present, and this recognition hastens manifestation. No other can live this law for another. Each soul must claim its own right by establishing its own consciousness. Yet no one can prevent another from claiming, for the law is impartial and inexhaustible. Supply is infinite, there is no competition. One person's good does not take from another, for each draws from the infinite according to belief. This truth dissolves envy, comparison, and fear, replacing them with the serene knowledge that all good is available, all good is possible, all good is already prepared. The stories of life testify again and again to this law. The individual who once struggled in poverty and then affirmed abundance finds doors opening in unexpected places. The one who suffered in loneliness and then affirmed love encounters companionship in surprising ways. The one who endured failure and then affirmed success discovers opportunities flowing with ease. These are not coincidences but demonstrations of the exactness of the law, the unfailing response of outer conditions to inner conviction. To live by this truth is to move with confidence, to walk with calm assurance, to expect the best without wavering. What belongs by right of consciousness cannot be stolen, cannot be lost, cannot be denied. It may shift in form, but the essence remains, and the essence must reach the one who has aligned with it. Even what once seemed to have slipped away is restored, for the law knows no loss. That which is truly claimed by right of consciousness will circle back, renewed, enriched, multiplied, and perfectly timed. Obstacles transform into stepping stones of fulfillment. The very things that once appeared as barriers, delays, or defeats are in truth the raw material of progress, the shaping forces that prepare the path for greater expression. To the eye clouded by fear, an obstacle looks like an ending. To the eye enlightened by faith, it is the very means by which the desired good is brought forth. The stone that blocks the way is the same stone that can be stepped upon to rise higher. The difficulty that seemed to hold back progress is the very condition that strengthens the soul and reveals capacities hidden until now. Every obstacle carries within it a hidden gift, and every challenge conceals a blessing waiting to be recognized. There is no wasted experience, no useless delay, no meaningless struggle, for all things are woven by divine law into the perfect unfolding of life. What seems to hinder is often the redirection that prevents greater loss. What seems to obstruct is often the preparation that strengthens the foundation for greater expansion. The outer appearance of difficulty is but the mask worn by opportunity. Once this is known, the soul no longer fears obstacles, but greets them with quiet confidence, knowing that each one will reveal itself as a stepping stone. The law of consciousness governs this transformation. An obstacle persists as long as it is seen as a wall, a block, or a curse. The moment it is redefined in thought as a step, a tool, a gift, it begins to change its nature. Consciousness is the lens through which events are interpreted, and interpretation shapes outcome. The same event that brings defeat to one who believes in failure becomes victory to one who believes in triumph. The same delay that frustrates the impatient becomes preparation for the one who trusts divine timing. The obstacle itself has no power. The meaning assigned to it determines its effect. When the soul speaks the word of truth, obstacles lose their sting. The declaration that every event works together for good dissolves the illusion of opposition. Fear gives way to expectancy, and expectancy turns stumbling blocks into opportunities. The challenge becomes fuel for growth. The difficulty becomes the foundation for greater blessing. In this way, what once seemed to hinder actually hastens fulfillment, for it strengthens faith, deepens understanding, and clears a way that which no longer serves. Consider the seed buried in the soil. To the unknowing eye, the weight of earth pressing down seems an obstacle, a suffocating burden. Yet that very pressure is what strengthens the sprout, guiding it upward toward the light. Without resistance, the seed would not develop roots, and without roots, it could not grow into the fullness of its pattern. So it is with the soul. The weight of apparent obstacles is the condition that calls forth hidden strength, anchoring deeper roots and preparing for greater expansion. Each obstacle is also a teacher. It reveals where faith has wavered, where thought has faltered, where belief has been small. It invites correction, adjustment, refinement. In facing difficulty, the soul learns to trust more deeply, to affirm more firmly, to release doubt more completely. The obstacle becomes the mirror showing where consciousness must rise, and once the lesson is learned, the obstacle transforms into a step upward. In this sense, every hindrance is a call to greater alignment, and every challenge is a summons to deeper faith. The transformation of obstacles is often seen in hindsight. Looking back, one recognizes that the delay prevented disaster, that the failure redirected the path toward greater success, that the loss created space for something better. What once caused tears is later understood as blessing. The mind, limited by the present moment, cannot always see the larger design. But faith holds to the knowing that the larger design exists and that every detail serves the whole. In time, the pattern reveals itself, and what once looked like a setback is celebrated as a turning point. This law is demonstrated in countless lives. The inventor whose repeated failures led to the breakthrough that changed the world. The artist whose rejection refined the work into lasting beauty. The seeker whose disappointment deepened the inner life until fulfillment came in unexpected form. All show that obstacles are never endings, but beginnings in disguise. The obstacle contains the seed of the very good it seems to deny, and once the seed is recognized, it must blossom into fulfillment. To walk this path is to cultivate a new attitude toward difficulty. Instead of shrinking in fear or collapsing in despair, one looks at the obstacle and declares, "This too is for my good. This too will serve my purpose. This too will transform into fulfillment." Such words spoken in faith shift the energy of the situation, dissolving resistance and revealing hidden pathways. The mind opens to new ideas, the heart to new strength, the will to new courage. Suddenly, what seemed immovable begins to move, not because the obstacle has changed, but because consciousness has risen above it. Even when the obstacle remains outwardly, it no longer hinders. The soul that sees it as a stepping stone uses it as support, climbing higher because of it rather than being held down by it. A mountain, seen as a wall, creates despair. Seen as a step, it inspires ascent. The difference lies not in the mountain, but in the vision with which it is approached. The one who climbs grows stronger, sees farther, and reaches heights impossible without the mountain. Thus the obstacle, once feared, becomes the very means of fulfillment. This truth also frees the soul from resentment and regret. No experience is wasted, no struggle meaningless. Even the harshest trials, once transformed by consciousness, yield fruit. The pain endured becomes compassion. The failure experienced becomes wisdom. The delay suffered becomes patience. These qualities enrich the soul and prepare it for greater expression, turning what once seemed curse into blessing. Life, viewed through the lens of divine law, reveals itself as a continuous unfolding where nothing is lost, nothing is wasted, nothing opposes. Every obstacle holds within it a key, and every key unlocks a door. The mind that recognizes this truth ceases to fear, ceases to doubt, and begins to affirm that every circumstance is a pathway to greater good. In this affirmation lies the power to transform. For the universe always responds to thought, and thought aligned with truth has power to remake appearances. The obstacle that once loomed large diminishes, shifts, and becomes the very means of ascent. The universe rushes to meet me with abundant supply. The unseen forces that govern life are forever moving in harmony, ever eager to fulfill every rightful desire, always flowing toward increase, expansion, and joy. Supply is not scarce, nor is it distant, it is as immediate as the air one breathes, as constant as the light of the sun. The universe does not withhold, it does not ration, it does not measure sparingly. It pours forth without limit, without pause, without hesitation. The only condition is consciousness, for what the mind can claim, the law can deliver, and what the heart can accept, the universe can supply. When the soul stands open in faith, the flow becomes evident. The right idea appears at the right hour, the right opportunity arises in perfect sequence. The right people are drawn as though magnetized. It is not chance, nor accident, but divine order rushing forward in response to recognition. The universe is generous by nature, abundance is its essence, and it delights in pouring forth good when the channels are clear. The moment one declares, "I am ready, I am willing, I am receptive," the unseen current gathers itself and moves swiftly into form. This rushing supply is not limited to material wealth, though it includes it. It is also health, joy, love, inspiration, peace, creativity, and perfect expression. The abundance of the universe is total, embracing every dimension of life, and it seeks to meet every need in overflowing measure. One may ask for a drop, but the universe answers with a river. One may seek a handful, but the universe responds with a harvest. The supply always exceeds the demand, for the nature of life is boundless, and the source cannot diminish. The evidence of this truth is everywhere in creation. The earth produces more seeds than could ever be planted, more fruit than could ever be consumed, more beauty than could ever be counted. The stars fill the heavens beyond number, the waves of the sea roll endlessly. The air is abundant enough for every creature to breathe without measure. Lack exists only in the mind that denies abundance, for the law itself knows no limit. To align with this law is to open the gates of supply, and once open, they pour forth with ceaseless generosity. The rushing of the universe is felt as synchronicity, as sudden ease, as perfect timing. What once seemed far off arrives unexpectedly. What once seemed difficult is accomplished with grace, what once seemed scarce appears in overflowing measure. The supply does not trickle, it surges, and the soul that recognizes this cannot help but live in gratitude. Gratitude itself expands the flow, for it affirms the presence of abundance and clears the channels for more to come. Each act of thanksgiving becomes an invitation to greater supply. Each word of praise an opening for more blessing. The speed with which supply appears is in proportion to the clarity of consciousness. The one who doubts delays, or resists slows the current, as a dam slows the river. The one who believes fully, without hesitation, sees the universe rush forward as a flood, unstoppable and swift. Faith is the key that removes barriers, and expectancy is the current that draws supply from the unseen into the seen. To live in constant expectancy of good is to stand in the open channel of abundance, and in such a channel, supply flows without end. The universe meets not only needs but desires, for desire itself is divine, the signal that fulfillment is already prepared. The longing of the heart is not a taunt but a promise, and the universe rushes to keep its promise. Every true desire carries within it its own provision, every vision its own fulfillment, every dream its own supply. The moment the desire is acknowledged and accepted as rightful, the law moves with speed to bring it into form. It may appear through channels known, or through means entirely unexpected, but appear it must, for the law is exact and the supply unfailing. This abundance is personal and specific. It does not come in vague or general ways, but in precise alignment with what the soul has claimed. The artist is supplied with inspiration, the healer with energy, the teacher with wisdom, the builder with resources. The universe tailors its gifts to the need, rushing forward with exactly what is required in the perfect form. There is nothing random in its generosity. Every detail is arranged, every provision exact, every circumstance aligned to deliver what has been claimed by right of consciousness. The rushing of supply also carries with it the element of timing. It comes not too late, nor too early, but in the moment of greatest readiness. The soul may grow impatient, but divine law never hurries nor delays. When the consciousness is aligned, the universe hastens forward, and fulfillment arrives as if on wings. The perfect hour brings the perfect gift, and the soul marvels at the precision of the unfolding. What once seemed delayed is revealed as perfectly timed. What once seemed denied is revealed as multiplied blessing. There is no exhaustion of this supply. The universe does not deplete itself by giving, for its nature is infinite renewal. Just as one flame can light 1,000 candles without diminishing itself, the universe can pour forth blessings endlessly without lessening its store. Every gift given multiplies the whole, every outpouring creates new abundance. This is why generosity expands prosperity. Why giving opens the way for receiving, why releasing fear of lack draws greater supply. The current of abundance flows most swiftly through those who allow it to pass freely, for the universe delights in circulation. To recognize this rushing abundance is to walk with confidence, to live without fear, to act with boldness. There is no need for hoarding. No need for anxious striving, no need for desperate struggle. The universe is already moving to deliver every good thing, already arranging circumstances, already opening doors, already preparing the way. The role of the soul is simply to align with this truth, to affirm it, to expect it, to receive it with gratitude. Once this alignment is established, the current of supply becomes unstoppable, and the universe itself hastens forward to meet the soul with overflowing provision.